she never expected to be accused. The billionaire's wife, confident in her luxurious life, pointed a finger at the young black maid, blaming her for a shocking theft. But when the security footage was reviewed, the truth shattered everything they thought they knew. Secrets buried for years began to surface, a cunning villain lurked in the shadows, and a family would be forced to confront betrayal, courage, and redemption. Who really orchestrated the crime, and could this family survive the shocking revelations that follow? Before we dive into the gripping details of this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated for more thrilling stories. Elara Kensington had lived most of her life inside a world of shimmering chandeliers and diamond-trimmed expectations. Being the wife of one of the most powerful billionaires in the city meant she was always watched, by the press, by the board, by society. But no one watched her more closely than she watched herself. So when her pearl necklace, an heirloom from her late mother, went missing the morning of the charity gala, she felt the weight of the entire world press onto her shoulders. And she snapped. Her voice, trembling with panic and grief, rose across the marble kitchen. "Amara, you were the last one in my room before it disappeared. Please tell me the truth." Amara, the young maid who had moved from out of state to help support her siblings, froze. She held a dish towel in her hands, her dark eyes wide with disbelief. "Mrs. Kensington would never," she whispered. I thought you trusted me." Elara had trusted her. Amara was gentle, dependable, and treated the Kensingtons' home with more respect than anyone Elara had ever employed. But fear can twist logic into shadows, and shadows into accusations. By the time Mr. Kensington arrived home, shaken from an urgent business call, he found his usually composed wife unraveling and Amara standing by the doorway, hands shaking but chin held high. "I didn't take it, sir," she said softly. The house turned quiet. Tense. Cold. Trying to calm his wife, Mr. Kensington chose the one thing that could settle the matter without a single raised voice. "Let's check the security footage." They gathered around the large screen in his office. Frame by frame, the cameras played the morning back. Elara's breath hitched each time the hallway to her bedroom appeared. There was Amara, entering with fresh linens, leaving minutes later. But then, the footage continued. Someone else slipped inside after Amara left. Someone Elara had never suspected. Someone who moved with confident familiarity, head ducked low, gloved hands swift and decisive. Elara gasped. Mr. Kensington stood up abruptly. Amara covered her mouth. The figure on the screen lifted the jewelry box, pocketed the pearl necklace, and closed the door behind them. And just as the camera caught the thief's face turning, the screen flickered, glitched, then went completely black. Mr. Kensington slammed his palm on the desk. No, that can't be the end of the file." Elara's heart pounded. Someone had stolen her necklace, someone inside her own home, and they had deliberately tampered with the footage. Amara stepped forward, her voice gentle yet steady. "Sir, ma'am. I think I know who that was." They turned to her, stunned, breathless, waiting. And Amara swallowed hard before speaking the name. But before she could finish, the entire house suddenly went dark. Every light, every screen, every sound. A power outage. Or something far more deliberate. From the hallway came a slow, creaking step. Someone else was in the house with them. The darkness pressed in like a heavy curtain, swallowing every shape and shadow. Elara clutched the back of her husband's chair, her breath sharp in her throat. Mr. Kensington's hand instinctively reached for hers in the dark. Amara stood completely still, listening. Another creak echoed from the hallway, closer this time. "Stay behind me," Mr. Kensington whispered. But Amara shook her head. "No. I think I know who's doing this. And if I'm right, they won't hurt us." "Not yet." A faint blue glow flickered as the emergency lights hummed to life. Just enough to paint the office in a dim, eerie haze. "Amara," Elara said, voice trembling, "who did you see in that footage before it cut out?" Amara opened her mouth, but before she could speak, a silhouette appeared in the doorway. Tall. Familiar. And holding something glinting in the low light. Elara gasped. "Lucas?" Mr. Kensington called out. The figure stepped forward, and the dim light revealed the face of Lucas, Mr. Kensington's estranged younger brother, once charismatic, once trusted, but long since consumed by jealousy and resentment. "Miss me?" Lucas said with a crooked smile. Amara's shoulders slumped with a sad kind of relief. "I knew it." Elara's heart pounded. She hadn't seen Lucas in months, not since the last argument between the brothers about money, reputation, and the company's future. He had walked out that day with anger burning behind his eyes. Now he stood there, in their home, holding her mother's pearl necklace by the clasp. "I didn't want it to come to this." Lucas shook the necklace lightly so that it caught the glow of the emergency light. "But you left me no choice." Mr. Kensington's voice hardened. "Breaking into my home and framing an innocent woman wasn't a choice, Lucas. It was a crime." Lucas's expression twitched, anger, bitterness, and something darker passing over him. "Your empire should have been ours," he growled. "But you took everything. The company. The spotlight. The legacy. And you expect me to watch quietly while you play king?" Elara stepped closer to her husband, her voice steadying. "Lucas, this isn't the way to fix anything." Lucas laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "Oh, I'm not trying to fix anything." He reached into his pocket. Elara felt her stomach drop. But instead of a weapon, Lucas pulled out a small remote, sleek, black, and blinking red. Amara's eyes widened. "What is that?" Lucas lifted it slowly, letting his thumb hover over the button. "A choice," he whispered. "For all of you." Mr. Kensington stepped forward, protective, tense. "Lucas, don't." But Lucas only smiled. "You want the truth?" he said. "Fine. Press this button, and you'll get everything. Every secret, every lie, every hidden piece of your perfect little world. Revealed to the authorities. To the press. To the board." He held the remote up. "Elara," he said softly, "this goes way beyond a necklace." A cold shiver ran down her spine. "What did you do?" she whispered. Lucas's smile faded into something unreadable. "Ask your husband." Mr. Kensington stiffened. Elara's breath hitched. And before anyone could move, Lucas pressed the button. The house lights snapped back on. Every screen in the office glowed to life, not with security footage, but with files. Dozens of them. Marked confidential. Marked sealed. Marked classified. Amara's eyes darted from screen to screen. "Sir, what is all of this?" Elara turned slowly toward her husband. "Henry," she whispered, voice breaking, "what did you hide from me?" But Mr. Kensington didn't answer. Because every screen in the room suddenly flickered, and a single line of text appeared across them all. Transfer in progress, 12%. Ilara's pulse hammered. Henry, she repeated, what is he transferring? Mr. Kensington stared at the screens, jaw tight, eyes full of something Ilara had never seen before. Fear. And then, from somewhere deep inside the house, a thunderous crash echoed through the halls. Lucas's smile vanished. That, he whispered, wasn't me. They all froze. And the screen ticked to 13%. The crash reverberated through the mansion like a warning shot, loud enough to rattle the chandelier in the foyer and send a tremor through the floor beneath their feet. Ilara's hand flew to her mouth. Amara flinched. Lucas's eyes darted toward the door, suddenly unsure. Mr. Kensington moved first. We need to get out of this office, he said firmly. Now. But the screens behind him continued to update in glowing, unforgiving letters. Transfer in progress, 22%. Every file, every sealed document, every secret he had buried under years of success was slipping out of his grasp, siphoned away by whatever Lucas had activated. Henry, Ilara whispered, you have to tell us what's happening. He shook his head, struggling between guilt and urgency. There's no time. Whoever just entered the house, he looked at Lucas. You didn't come alone, did you? Lucas swallowed. I didn't bring anyone. I swear. Another crash echoed. Something toppled over, heavy, metallic. Amara glanced toward the hallway. It sounded like the security room. Lucas's face went pale. That room is supposed to be locked, he muttered. And shielded. Ilara stepped closer to him, her fear sharpened into anger. Lucas, what did you do besides steal a necklace? He opened his mouth to defend himself, then froze as footsteps thundered down the long hallway. Not slow, creeping steps like before, but rapid, purposeful ones. Amara grabbed the back of the chair for support. Someone's running. The office door slammed open. And the security chief, Marcus Hale, burst inside, out of breath, his uniform dusty and torn. Sir, ma'am, everyone, move away from the computers. Ilara blinked. Marcus? What happened? Hale locked eyes with Mr. Kensington. The system's been breached. Hard. Someone overrode every firewall we've got. Lucas folded his arms smugly. I told you. Marcus cut him off. And it wasn't him. Lucas's face stiffened in shock. Reaching behind his belt, Marcus pulled out a small, half-melted device, wires sparking, casing cracked. This was stuck into the security hub, Marcus said. A remote network detonator. Someone wanted a distraction so they could run a transfer unnoticed. This wasn't your brother's work. Lucas looked genuinely rattled. Then who? Marcus turned toward the glowing screens. Someone who knew your system better than anyone inside this house. Ilara felt a cold knot forming in her stomach. Marcus, who is it? Marcus hesitated, throat tightening. Then he said the name. Vivian. Ilara staggered back, gripping the desk for balance. Vivian. Her oldest friend. Her confidant. Her personal assistant for almost 10 years. Vivian? Ilara whispered, her voice breaking. She's like family. Mr. Kensington's jaw locked. Then she knew exactly how to get around our security. Lucas narrowed his eyes. Where is she now? Marcus inhaled sharply. In your private study, he said. Trying to force access to your safe. Mr. Kensington turned white. The screens glowed brighter, reaching 38%. We have to stop her, he said. Lucas stepped in front of him, blocking the doorway. Henry. His voice was low, steady. You need to tell us what she's after. Ilara stared at her husband, heart pounding. Henry, she said, please. If Vivian is trying to expose something, is it true? Are those files dangerous? He closed his eyes. Just for a moment. And when he opened them again, there was no more time for secrets. Ilara, he whispered, those files, they're not just business documents. He swallowed hard. They contain the truth about how the company was built. About your father. And about the deal that made us billionaires. Ilara felt the ground tilt beneath her. My father, she breathed. What deal? Before Henry could answer, a deafening alarm began blaring through the mansion. Every light flickered red. And across the screens, new text flashed in bold crimson. Breach detected, safe override in progress. Transfer in progress, 51%. Vivian was almost into the safe. Lucas grabbed Henry by the arm. If she gets inside that safe, everything you've tried to protect will be exposed. Henry pulled free. She can't open it. Marcus's expression said otherwise. She already bypassed 2 locks. Ilara's voice trembled. What is in that safe? Henry exhaled slowly. Then he whispered something that made even Lucas's bravado crack. The last piece of evidence tying our family to the man who destroyed yours, Amara. Amara staggered back as if struck. My family? She whispered, voice barely audible. What do you mean? Henry turned toward her. And for the first time all night, he looked truly, devastatingly ashamed. But before he could speak, a scream shattered the silence. Vivian's scream. From the study. The office froze. Then, silence. Followed by a soft, unmistakable click. Like a safe door swinging open. The click echoed through the mansion like a final verdict, cold, metallic, irreversible. Ilara felt the sound crawl up her spine and settle like ice in her chest. The safe, Henry whispered. She got it open. Marcus drew a shaky breath. We need to move. Now. Lucas nodded, but Amara didn't move at all. She stood rooted to the spot, staring at Henry as if the truth were a storm gathering behind her eyes. What did my family ever do to yours? She asked quietly. Why would anything in that safe be connected to us? Henry opened his mouth. But another sound cut him off. A low groan. The scrape of furniture. A weak voice drifting down the hall. Help. Vivian. Henry didn't wait another second. He sprinted down the hallway, and the others raced after him. The mansion seemed different now, colder, the shadows longer, the silence dangerous. The emergency lights flickered as if warning them that time was running out. They reached the study. The door was cracked open. Henry pushed it wide. And the room came into view. Vivian lay on the floor near the open safe, clutching her arm, her face twisted in pain. Papers were scattered across the carpet, dozens of them, along with a single black folder. The black folder. The only one Henry kept locked inside the safe. The only one Alara had never been allowed to see. Marcus rushed to Vivian's side. "Vivian. What happened? Who did this to you?" Vivian coughed, pushing herself up on trembling elbows. She winced. "I wasn't alone." Lucas stiffened. "Then who?" Someone came from behind," she whispered. "They hit me. Took the folder. Ran." Alara scanned the room, heart pounding. The window was shattered, the night wind blowing in through broken glass. Henry cursed under his breath. "They got out. Whoever it was, they have the evidence." Vivian nodded weakly. "I tried to stop them," she murmured. "But they knew exactly where to find the folder. They knew the layout of the safe." Alara's blood ran cold. Someone who knew the Kensington home. Someone who knew their secrets. Someone who knew where Henry hid the truth. Marcus stood, face grim. "They escaped into the gardens. Cameras are out, but the motion sensors might have caught something. I'll check." He bolted for the security room. Lucas paced, running a hand through his hair. "This is getting out of control. Whoever stole that folder, they're not just after money. They're after all of us." Alara knelt beside Vivian, torn between fear and heartbreak. "Vivian," she said softly, "why did you try to take the files? Why didn't you just talk to me?" Vivian's eyes glistened. "Because I knew once you saw what was in that folder, your whole world would fall apart." Alara swallowed hard. "What's in it?" Vivian hesitated, torn between guilt and loyalty, fear and desperation. Henry stepped forward, voice rough. "Alara, the truth in that folder isn't just about your father. It's about Amara's family. About Lucas. About me. It's about everything that built this company, and everything that could tear it apart." Amara stared at him, shaking. "My family?" she whispered. "What truth could possibly connect all of us?" Before Henry could answer, Marcus's voice crackled through the mansion intercom. "Sir, ma'am, you need to get back to the office immediately." Alara's heart lurched. "Marcus? What's wrong?" His voice was breathless. "Urgent. It's the transfer," he said. "It just jumped to 80%. Henry froze. "That's impossible, Vivian's down. The device is disabled." Marcus's next words came out in a terrified whisper. "It isn't Vivian." Everyone went still. Alara clutched her husband's arm. "Then who is finishing the transfer?" A beat of pure, aching silence. And then Marcus said, "It's someone inside the house. Someone still here." He swallowed audibly. "And they just locked me out of the system." The mansion lights flickered, once, twice, then went dead again, plunging the house into darkness. From somewhere down the hallway, a slow, deliberate set of footsteps began approaching the study. Alara grabbed Henry's hand in the dark. "Henry," she whispered, trembling, "whoever is doing this, who is left?" Henry didn't answer. Because he knew. And Amara knew. And even Lucas's face drained of color. Only Vivian, injured, confused, managed to whisper the name aloud. A name that made Alara's knees nearly give out. Adrian. Alara choked on a breath. Her son. Her son was still in the house. And he was coming toward them. Ilara's world narrowed to a single, echoing heartbeat. "Adrian," she whispered into the darkness, barely able to say her son's name. Her brilliant, quiet, guarded 17-year-old boy, the child who hated attention, who kept to himself, who always seemed to be listening more than speaking. Lucas swore under his breath. Vivian closed her eyes in pain. Henry looked like his soul had dropped to the floor. Footsteps approached, steady, calm, unhurried. Marcus's voice crackled again through the intercom, distorted by static. "Ilara. Henry, he's overriding everything. I can't stop him." Then the line went dead. Ilara stepped back, her hand instinctively lifting as though she could shield the entire room. "Henry," she whispered, "tell me it isn't true. Tell me Adrian isn't the one doing this." Henry opened his mouth. But the footsteps stopped outside the study door. A soft click. A silhouette appeared in the doorway, faintly outlined by the emergency lights. Tall. Still. Familiar. "Mom?" Ilara's breath caught. "Adrian," she said, her voice cracking. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here? What's happening?" He stepped into the room. His face was calm, too calm. His eyes flicked briefly to Vivian on the floor, then to Lucas, then Marcus's vacant station, then to Amara. Finally, he looked at his father. "I warned you, Dad," Adrian said quietly. "I told you, lies always grow." Henry's face tightened. "Son, you don't know what you're doing." Adrian tilted his head. "I know exactly what I'm doing." The house lights flickered, then glowed dimly, just enough to reveal a small device in Adrian's hand. A different device than the one Lucas had brought. Sleeker. More advanced. Something he had built himself. Adrian had always been gifted with technology. Brilliant, actually. It was the one thing he inherited from Henry's side, an instinct for breaking systems apart and rebuilding them stronger. But now he was breaking something else. Ilara stepped toward him slowly. "Adrian, why are you doing this?" He looked at her, not cold, not angry, but heartbroken. "Because you deserved the truth a long time ago, Mom." Vivian groaned and managed to sit up, clutching her bruised arm. "You shouldn't have been involved in this," she whispered. "You're just a kid." "I'm not a kid," Adrian said sharply, but hurt flickered in his eyes. "Not after what I found." Lucas crossed his arms. "Found what, exactly?" Adrian ignored him. He looked at Amara. "You deserve the truth more than anyone." Amara stepped back. Instinctively, confusion and fear swirling in her expression. "Me? Adrian, I don't even know you that well." "You know enough," he whispered. "You've always been kind. You never judged me. And your family, they were the ones hurt the most by what happened years ago." Henry closed his eyes. "Adrian, stop." "No," Adrian's voice rose, not loud, but shaking with emotion. "You don't get to hide it anymore." Ilara turned to Henry, panic rising. "What did you hide? What does Adrian think happened?" Henry's face finally broke. "Ilara, when your father saved the company years ago, he didn't save it alone. He made a deal with a man he shouldn't have trusted. A man who exploited Amara's community for cheap labor. A man who cut corners, broke laws, and destroyed her family's livelihood." Amara's eyes widened, filling with tears. "No," she whispered. My parents lost everything because of a business partner. You're saying, your family was connected to him? Henry swallowed. He was your father's silent partner. And he threatened to expose the entire operation unless your father signed over full control later. The company, our fortune, it all came from that one buried secret. The room spun. Elara grabbed the table to keep herself steady. You let my father carry that alone, she whispered. You let him die with that guilt? Henry opened his mouth, but Adrian spoke first. He didn't just let him. His voice trembled. He helped hide it. Henry flinched as though struck. Elara stared at her husband, tears slipping down her cheeks. Henry, tell me he's lying. Henry looked at her, anguish written across every line of his face. Elara, he whispered, I was trying to protect you. To protect Adrian. To protect all of us. Adrian stepped forward. No, Dad. You were protecting yourself. Silence fell like a hammer. Then Adrian lifted the device. Transfers at 93%, he said softly. Once it hits 100, the files go public. The truth goes to the families who were hurt. Including Amara's. Including everyone grandfather's partner destroyed. Amara stared at him, tears falling silently. Why would you do that for us? Adrian looked at her with a gentleness that broke Elara's heart. Because someone should have done the right thing a long time ago. Henry suddenly lunged forward. Adrian, stop. Adrian pressed a button on the device. The screens around the house lit up at once. Transfer complete, 100% files sent. Henry froze mid-step. Elara gasped. Lucas's jaw dropped. Vivian covered her mouth. Amara stared at the screen through tears. Adrian lowered the device, breathing shaking, as if he had finally let go of a burden too heavy for any teenager to hold. It's over, he said softly. But then. Every screen in the mansion flickered. A new message appeared. External response received, counteraction initiated. The lights died. The mansion shook. Alarms wailed. Lucas shouted, "What did you do?" Adrian stared at the screens, eyes wide, stunned with fear. I didn't trigger that, he whispered. Vivian gasped. Henry grabbed Elara, shielding her as the ground rumbled beneath them. Amara stepped toward Adrian. Adrian, who else had access to the files? Adrian shook his head. Nobody. His voice broke. Nobody except. Before he could finish, a final line burned across every screen in blood-red letters. Remote host connected, ID verified, primary account holder, H, Kensington override sequence engaged. Elara turned to Henry. Her voice barely held together. Henry? She swallowed. Why is your account overriding Adrian's release? Henry's face turned white. I don't know. But Adrian stared at him with growing horror. Dad, he whispered. You didn't tell us everything. Henry backed away, slow, trembling. Footsteps echoed again in the hall. Not Adrian's. Not Vivian's. Not Lucas's. Heavier. Purposed. Someone else had arrived. And they were coming straight for the study. The footsteps were deliberate, too heavy to be Adrian's, too controlled to belong to someone panicked or fleeing. Whoever approached wasn't afraid. They were returning. Elara clutched Adrian's shoulders, pulling him close, her breath trembling. Henry stepped in front of them, instinctively placing himself between his family and the unseen threat. Lucas tensed, ready to fight. Vivian tried to stand, wincing sharply. Amara moved closer to Adrian, as if she could shield him in return. The study door creaked open, and a tall figure stepped into the room. Dressed in a charcoal suit. Calm. Expression unreadable. Ilara gasped. "Father?" The room froze. Arthur Montgomery, Ilara's father. The man they had all believed was halfway across the world on medical retreat. The man Henry claimed had died carrying a secret guilt. But he wasn't dead. He was standing right in front of them. Alive. And unshaken. Adrian blinked hard. "Grandpa." Lucas let out a disbelieving curse. Vivian covered her mouth in shock. Amara stared, stunned and confused. Ilara stepped forward, almost stumbling. "Dad, how?" "We thought," Henry said. Henry turned as pale as the moon. "Arthur," he breathed, horrified. Arthur studied the shattered window, the open safe, the glowing screens, and the terrified faces in the room, which included his own daughter. Then he spoke, his voice calm but heavy with a power none of them had heard before. "So," he said, "you finally opened the safe." Henry swallowed hard. "Arthur, I can explain." Arthur lifted a single hand. Henry fell silent instantly. Not out of fear. Out of obedience. Ilara's heart cracked. "Dad," she said softly, "you were dead. I grieved you." Arthur's expression softened just a fraction. "Ilara, some lies must be lived to protect the truth." Adrian stepped forward. "What truth?" "I released everything. The world is seeing it right now." Arthur's eyes slid to the screens, which continued flashing red. "Yes," he said. "They are." Ilara searched his face. "Dad, you knew? You knew about the deal with that man? About everything that happened to Amara's family? About the hidden partner?" Arthur closed his eyes for a moment, the weight of decades pressing into his expression. "I didn't just know," he said. His eyes reopened, sharp and unflinching. "I made the deal myself." A stunned silence fell over the room. Ilara staggered backward as if struck. Henry reached for her, but she tore herself away. Amara's face crumpled, not with anger, but with a deep, wounded sorrow. "You destroyed my family's future," she whispered. "And you hid." Arthur didn't deny it. "I did," he said simply. Vivian shook her head. "But why help build the lie after? Why fake your death?" Arthur stepped deeper into the room, his presence quiet but enormous. "Because the man I partnered with," he said, "didn't just exploit your community. He wanted control of the company. And he didn't work alone. There was a network, dangerous, powerful men willing to ruin anyone who stood in their way." He glanced at Henry. "He forced Henry to hide my survival. Forced him to take the blame if anything slipped." Henry's eyes glistened. "Arthur, please, don't do this." Adrian stared at both men, betrayal and confusion swirling inside him. "But grandfather," Adrian said, voice cracking, "I already sent everything. All the files. All the evidence. It's out." Arthur looked at him, not angry, not disappointed, but something far more frightening. He was proud. "You did exactly what needed to be done," Arthur said softly. You broke the cage. Henry stared at him, stunned. What? Arthur nodded slowly. Adrian didn't ruin us, Arthur said. He freed us. The screens flashed again. Messages flooded in. Publication complete. Legal authorities contacted Class A files, disseminated response teams en route. Lucas stared, wide-eyed. Wait, you wanted the files released? After hiding all this time? Arthur turned to him. I hid because they were watching. Not to protect myself, but to protect my family. I stayed dead so they'd leave you all alone. He stepped closer to the safe. But when Adrian pushed the button, he exhaled. He triggered the one thing those men feared most. Ilara's eyes filled with tears. The truth. Arthur nodded. And now they're coming, he said quietly. Not for revenge, but because the world demands accountability. Suddenly, the mansion shook again. A loud knock thundered through the front doors. Voices echoed outside. Not hostile, but official. Urgent. Firm. Ilara's heart pounded. Dad, what do we do? Arthur turned to face them all. And for the first time that night, he looked almost afraid. We open the door. Henry swallowed. And then? Arthur looked at the family he had tried, through flawed and painful choices, to protect. Then, he whispered, we tell the truth. But before anyone could move, a second sound cut through the house. A much quieter one. A soft beep. Adrian looked down at his device. His eyes widened. He lifted it slowly. Mom. Dad. Grandpa. Everyone turned to him. The device showed a single blinking message. Second upload detected, unknown source, unauthorized file included. Arthur's face hardened. Henry stared, stunned. Ilara's voice trembled. Adrian, what file? Adrian swallowed. I don't know, he said. But it wasn't mine. Lucas stepped closer. Then who just released something else? A chill rippled through the room. And then the device displayed a file name. One none of them expected. One that made Henry stumble backward and strike the desk behind him. Montgomery Legacy, Part 2 unredacted. Arthur's face went paper white. No, he breathed. That file was destroyed. Adrian whispered, someone kept a copy. Amara looked at them, shaking. What's in Part 2? Arthur's voice came out barely above a whisper. Everything I didn't tell Henry. Ilara's throat closed. Dad, who else knew it existed? Arthur stared at the blinking screen. And whispered the name none of them saw coming. A name that made even Vivian gasp. The name of the one person missing from the room. Your mother, Ilara. Ilara froze. My mother? Arthur nodded, eyes dark with a decades-old pain. She knew everything. And she left a final message. A warning. And now, he looked toward the front door, where the authorities waited. Now the world is about to hear it. Ilara's knees weakened. Dad, she whispered, voice cracking, what did Mom do? Arthur closed his eyes. And said. She tried to stop me. Another thunderous knock shook the front door. And the mansion went silent. For a moment, time refused to move. Ilara felt the world tilt, her breath catch somewhere between disbelief and grief. My mother, she whispered, staring at her father as if he were a stranger. "You told me she passed peacefully. You said she never knew about the deal. You said she forgave you." Arthur's jaw tightened. "I said what I had to say," he replied quietly. "To protect you from the truth." Elara shook her head, stepping back. "Protect me, or protect yourself." Another pounding knock echoed from the front door, louder this time, shaking the foyer. "Open the door," a voice commanded. "This is a federal order." Lucas swore under his breath. Vivian pressed a hand to her wound, panic rising. Marcus's voice crackled through the intercom again, barely functional. "They're surrounding the house. I've been told to stay put. Elara, Henry, be careful." But no one moved toward the door. All eyes were on Arthur. "Dad," Elara whispered, "what happened with Mom? What was in the second file? What did she try to stop you from doing?" Arthur didn't answer at first. He just stared at the carpet as if he could see back through the years, through the lies, through the choices that had brought them to this moment. Finally, he looked up. And his voice trembled. "She discovered the truth behind the silent partner before I did. She found the contracts, the payments, the recordings. She confronted him, and confronted me." His gaze locked with Elara's. "She tried to expose it. All of it." Amara let out a soft, broken exhale. "So she wanted justice," she whispered. "She wanted to help the people who were hurt." Arthur nodded slowly. "Yes. She did." Elara pressed a hand to her mouth, tears streaking her cheeks. "But you told me she died in a car accident on the way to a charity gala. You said it was the rain, a tire blowout." Arthur closed his eyes. Pain carved deep grooves in his face. "She was on her way to the authorities," he said. "And the partner found out." Silence fell like ash. Adrian swallowed hard. "You don't mean—" "Yes," Arthur said. "It wasn't an accident." Elara's scream was silent, too deep, too raw to leave her throat. Henry reached for her instinctively, but she stepped away from him, from everyone, stumbling back until her hands hit the wall. "My mother was murdered?" Arthur nodded once. And that single movement shattered something no one could put back together. Amara covered her face, tears falling. Vivian sobbed. Even Lucas's eyes softened with something like sorrow. Adrian's voice shook. "You knew this the whole time, grandfather, and you said nothing." Arthur turned to him, heartbroken. "I stayed silent to keep you alive." But Adrian stepped closer, trembling with anger and devastation. "How many people were sacrificed to protect your silence?" he demanded. "How many families suffered? Amara's, mine, Mom's," his voice cracked. "Hers." Arthur's face broke completely, old grief finally flooding through. "She recorded something before she left the house," Arthur whispered. "A message. Her last message. She hid it inside the secondary file, Montgomery Legacy, Part 2. Elara wiped her tears, voice hoarse. "And now, the world has it." Arthur nodded. "Yes." Another thunderous knock rattled the house. Final warning. "Open the door." But no one moved. Not yet. Arthur drew a slow, painful breath. "She recorded the truth of everything, Elara. Not just about me. Not just about the partner. But about you." Elara froze. "Me?" Arthur nodded. And what he said next cut through the room like lightning. She left a message, about who you really are. Ilara stared at him. Dad, what do you mean? Who I really am? Arthur opened his mouth to answer. But before he could speak, a sharp whistle sliced through the air. A glass shard hit the wall behind Adrian's head with a violent crack. Then another. Then another. Everyone ducked. Windows shattered throughout the mansion. Red lights flashed. Alarms screamed. The power surged. Someone was shooting out the cameras. The spotlights. The sensors. Amara grabbed Adrian and pulled him down just as another window exploded. Marcus's voice finally returned over the intercom, shouting. They're not federal. Do not open the door. They're armed. Static. The line died again. Ilara's blood turned to ice. Dad, she whispered, panic rising, who's outside? What did you do? Arthur's voice trembled. I didn't call them. Lucas crawled to the broken window, peeking between shards. His face drained of color. Oh no. Vivian clutched her arm. Who is it? Law enforcement? Lucas shook his head slowly. It's worse. Ilara grabbed Henry's hand. Lucas, who is out there? He looked back at them, the fear in his eyes unmistakable. It's the partners' people, he said. And they're not here for negotiations. The mansion shook as a battering ram slammed into the front door. Everyone froze. Adrian's hand found his mother's. Arthur backed toward them, finally letting the truth crack through his mask. They're here, he whispered, to finish what they started with your mother. And then the front door began to splinter. The front door groaned under the battering ram, splinters flying like deadly confetti. The mansion trembled with the force, the alarms screaming in a chaotic symphony. Ilara grabbed Adrian's hand, holding him close. Dad, what do we do? Arthur's eyes darted around the room, landing on each family member in turn. We survive. That's all we can do. Lucas clenched his fists, pacing. We can fight them. We've got the house, the security systems, well, what's left of them. Vivian groaned in pain from her fall, wincing as she tried to rise. And how do you propose we fight a trained militia? They know the layout. They know who we are. They're here for revenge, not negotiation. Henry's face was pale, sweat beading at his temples. They're after the folder, and whatever Adrian released. We have nothing to hide anymore, but they don't care. They want control. They want to destroy us. Amara shook her head, terror in her eyes. They killed my parents because of this. They'll finish what they started with me, with all of us. Adrian swallowed hard. His hands tightened around his mother's. No. We can stop them. Grandpa, you taught me everything. Show me what to do. Arthur nodded grimly. The hidden passage. Only a few know it exists, and it leads to the panic chamber. If we reach it, we might survive long enough to figure out a plan. Ilara's eyes widened. Panic chamber? Arthur gestured toward a bookcase in the corner. Pull the fourth book from the left. Hard. There's a panel behind it. Everyone moved as one, their fear driving urgency. Adrian yanked the book. The bookcase creaked, groaned, and swung inward, revealing a narrow stone corridor bathed in faint red light. Quickly. Arthur urged. Once they break in, there won't be time. They sprinted down the corridor. Marcus and Vivian followed, Lucas bringing up the rear. The sound of the front door finally splintering and crashing to the floor echoed behind them. Ilara's heart pounded as they descended the stairs, the panic chamber's reinforced metal door looming ahead. Arthur reached it first, his hands flying over the keypad. It's locked. Only those with the override code can open it. Adrian's fingers hovered over the keypad. Do you know it? Arthur nodded. Your mother programmed it. Only she could unlock it. But she left a clue. He handed a folded note to Ilara. Ilara's trembling hands unfolded it. Scrawled in her mother's familiar handwriting were the words. The truth protects the brave. Begin with what you fear most. Adrian stared at it. What does that mean? Ilara's lips parted, but no words came. Behind them, the sound of shouts grew louder. Heavy boots pounded the corridors, followed by the metallic clink of weapons being drawn. Arthur slammed his hand onto the keypad. We don't have time. Think, Ilara. What did your mother fear most? Ilara's eyes widened as realization struck. Him. The man who destroyed Amara's family, the one she tried to stop, she feared him more than anything. Adrian nodded. The code, it's his birthday, the date she always mentioned in her journal as the day everything changed. Ilara punched in the numbers, her hands shaking. The keypad beeped. Green lights flashed. The heavy door hissed and slid open. Inside. Arthur commanded. They rushed in, and the door slammed shut behind them just as a deafening crash shook the mansion. The sound of splintering wood and shouting echoed through the walls. The panic chamber was cold, metallic, and silent except for the faint hum of emergency lights. For a moment, relief washed over them. Then the screens along the wall flickered to life. The image was grainy, distorted, but unmistakable. A figure appeared, masked and tall, standing among the wreckage of the Kensington estate. And on the wall behind him, pinned with a single, cruel flourish, was the black folder, the very one Adrian had just released. The figure raised a gloved hand toward the camera and spoke in a chilling, distorted voice. Thank you for delivering it, but the game has only begun. Adrian's face went pale. No, that's impossible. Ilara stepped forward, trembling. Who is it? Arthur's jaw tightened. Someone we thought was gone. And then the figure stepped into the light, revealing a face that no one in the room would ever forget. The image on the screen sent a cold shock straight through every heart in the panic chamber. The masked figure pulled back the hood, and the light fell on a face that made Ilara stagger backward. It was her mother. But, not alive. Not exactly. Her eyes were shadowed, sharp, and unrecognizable, hardened by years of secrets and survival, yet unmistakably the woman who had raised her. Ilara, her mother's voice crackled through the speaker, distorted but unmistakable. You shouldn't have opened the safe. You shouldn't have released the files. You've awakened something far bigger than you can imagine. Ilara's knees shook. Mom, how? I thought you. I never died, her mother interrupted, her tone calm, almost cold. I survived. I faked it. I had to protect you, and to prepare for this moment. Adrian's voice trembled. Prepare for what? Her mother's eyes glinted through the screen. For justice. Not just for our family, for everyone who was wronged. But justice has a price. Lucas swallowed hard. Mom? Wait, are you? I am no longer the woman you knew, she said sharply. I've spent years gathering the truth, tracking the men who ruined lives, including the man who destroyed Amara's family. Everything I left for you to uncover was only the beginning. Vivian groaned softly, clutching her arm. This is insane. She's alive all this time? Arthur stepped forward, jaw tight. Elara, your mother made a choice. A dangerous one. And now, we are caught in the middle of it. Elara's mind raced. But the folder, the files. Adrian released them. Isn't that what you wanted? Her mother's voice grew stern, almost angry. No. I wanted them to be found, not to be weaponized. Someone else has their hands on what matters. And they're coming for us next. The screens flickered violently, and a second figure appeared, this one in black tactical gear, faceless beneath a mask, holding another device similar to Adrian's. Mother, Adrian whispered. Who is that? The voice came through the speaker, calm, terrifying. I've been waiting for you all to make your moves. Now the game truly begins. Elara looked at Henry, fear and disbelief in her eyes. Who is that? Mom? Her mother shook her head, her face grim and unreadable. No, not me. That's him. The man I warned you about. The man your father made the deal with. The man who destroyed so many lives, including ours. Amara gasped. Then, he's still alive? Yes, her mother said. And he knows everything now. He has the folder. He has the files. He's coming for every last one of you, and he won't stop until he gets what he wants. Adrian's hands shook. But I sent the files, he already has them. He can't stop the truth now, right? Her mother's gaze through the screen was unwavering. The truth is dangerous, Adrian. It's a weapon, and he intends to use it. And he won't hesitate to destroy anyone who stands in his way. A sudden crash from somewhere deeper in the mansion shook the walls, louder than before. The panic chamber lights flickered, casting long, trembling shadows. Lucas swore. They're inside. They're already in the house. Henry's voice was low but firm. We can't stay here. If they find us in this room, we're done for. Arthur's eyes darkened. No, we have one last chance. A hidden exit. A tunnel under the east wing, it leads to the river. It's narrow, but it's the only way to survive and plan our next move. Elara took a deep, shaky breath. Then we move. Now. The family, fractured, terrified, and determined, rushed toward the secret exit. The walls shook violently as the intruders advanced, shouting in commands they couldn't fully hear. Adrian glanced back at the screens. His mother's face still glowed, eyes blazing with purpose. Remember, she whispered through the static, the real danger isn't inside this house. It's what follows you once you escape. And it knows everything, even your hearts. Elara's hand tightened on Adrian's. Then we run, she said, voice shaking, and we fight. As they slipped into the dark tunnel, the mansion behind them exploded into chaos, the sound of shattering glass, splintered doors, and distant shouting echoing like a storm. But as they descended into the cold, narrow stone passage, a soft, metallic click echoed behind them. Adrian froze. Mom, she said, someone knows our hearts. What does that mean? Ilara turned sharply, but there was nothing, only the shadows stretching long and deep ahead. A whisper echoed faintly through the tunnel, carried by the cold air. "Run, but you cannot hide from what I've seen." And from somewhere far above them in the shattered mansion, the screens all lit up again. Showing the family. Watching them. Waiting. The tunnel was dark and narrow, cold stone pressing in from all sides. The faint red emergency lights lining the walls flickered, casting their shadows long and trembling. Every footstep echoed, and every breath seemed amplified in the suffocating silence. Adrian held Ilara's hand tightly, refusing to let go. Lucas brought up the rear, glancing nervously at every shadow. Vivian and Amara followed close behind, Marcus covering their backs. Arthur led the way, moving with careful, measured steps that belied his age. Ilara whispered, almost to herself, "Mom, why didn't you tell us? Why hide all of this?" Her mother's voice crackled faintly through Adrian's device. "Because the moment you knew, your enemies would know. You wouldn't have survived the game if you'd been prepared too early. Timing is everything." Adrian's brow furrowed. "So she's been planning this all along?" "Yes," Arthur said grimly. "For decades. Every move, every secret, it was all her chessboard. And we just became the pieces." Suddenly, a faint metallic sound echoed from behind them. Lucas froze. "Stop, did you hear that?" A shadow shifted along the wall, faster than any of them could react. The faint glow from the lights revealed a gloved hand pressing a small device against the stone, emitting a subtle beep. "Tracking beacon," Marcus muttered, squinting. "Someone's following us. They know exactly where we are." Ilara's heart pounded. "How?" "We're underground." Adrian's lips pressed into a hard line. "They're not just after the files. They're after us, personally. They know what my mom warned about, and now, they want the family gone." A deeper rumble vibrated through the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. The distant shouts of the intruders echoed above, mingling with the warning of the tracker. Arthur stopped suddenly, placing a hand on the wall. "We need to split. Only way to survive is to separate, confuse them." Ilara shook her head. "No. We can't split. Not now." Arthur's face was stern. "There's no choice. The files are out. The enemies aren't stopping. If they catch us all together, we die." Adrian's hands clenched. "Then I'll go with him. Mom warned me. I need to protect the rest." Ilara's voice trembled. "Adrian. I can't." Before she could finish, the tunnel ahead exploded in light. A blinding blue-white flare illuminated the walls. A voice, distorted and mechanical, boomed through the air vents. "Do not attempt to escape. The game is not over. You are already inside my reach." Ilara's breath caught. She looked at the device in Adrian's hand, his mother's voice still faintly crackling, but now drowned by the booming threat. "Mom, who is this?" he whispered, voice shaking. Arthur's eyes narrowed. "It's him. The real villain. The one who's been orchestrating everything from the shadows. The man behind your father's deal, the one your mother feared most." Vivian's face paled. "And he's inside the house, and now he's inside the tunnel system?" "Yes," Arthur said grimly. "And he's been waiting for us to make a move. Every step we take, he's already accounted for." Adrian swallowed hard. "Then what do we do?" Arthur looked at them, every line of his face etched with decades of pain and determination. We run. We survive. And we prepare to fight back. But know this. He glanced at Alara, his eyes dark and heavy with warning. By the time we reach the exit, he will know everything about us. Our fears, our secrets, our hearts. A sudden, metallic screech echoed through the tunnel, far closer than it should have been. Marcus swore under his breath. He's here. He's inside the tunnel. And he's faster than we thought. Alara's heart pounded in her chest. She clutched Adrian's hand even tighter. Then, a soft, deliberate click sounded behind them. They froze. Slow footsteps approached from the shadows. The voice came next. Calm. Measured. Terrifying. You can run, but you cannot hide from what I've already seen. And in the faint flicker of the emergency lights, a shadow detached itself from the wall. Tall. Silent. Invisible to every camera. And it was smiling. The shadow moved like liquid across the walls of the tunnel, silent but palpable, as if the very air bent around it. Alara felt her chest tighten. Every instinct screamed at her, run. Hide. Don't look back. Adrian gripped her hand, his own face pale but determined. Mom, what do we do? He whispered into the static of the device. Her mother's voice came through, calm but urgent. Trust your instincts. He knows your fears, but fear can be your weapon if you control it. Move fast. Don't look back. Find the exit, and remember, not all of you may survive the first wave. Alara swallowed hard. What does that mean? Before anyone could answer, a harsh metallic clang reverberated through the tunnel. Something, or someone, was closing in from behind. Lucas grabbed Adrian's shoulder. He's tracking us. He can hear our heartbeats. He knows everything. Vivian whimpered, clutching her arm. This is impossible. Arthur raised a hand, silencing them. No. He's not supernatural, he's a master strategist. He's been planning this for decades. Every move, every escape route, every weak spot, he knows it all. That's why your mother had to disappear. That's why I had to stay silent. The tunnel forked ahead, splitting into two narrow paths. Dust and loose stones littered the floor. Arthur motioned toward the left. Go left. That path leads to a smaller exit near the river. It's longer, but he'll expect the main route. Alara hesitated. And you? Arthur's face was hard. I'll buy you time. Move. Adrian clenched his fists. No, Grandpa. We go together. All of us. Arthur shook his head. No. If he catches all of us, we die. Trust me. Alara looked at her father, torn, fear choking her words. Arthur, we can't just leave you here. He smiled faintly, a sad, resolute curve. You're stronger than you know, Alara. You've always been the brave one. Protect the family, survive. That's all that matters now. The footsteps grew louder, faster, almost echoing their own heartbeat. Adrian made the choice for them. We go. Now. They sprinted down the left tunnel, the walls closing in, the air growing colder. The lights flickered erratically, casting twisted, dancing shadows. The sound of pursuit, breath, metal, movement, was relentless behind them. Then, a deafening roar split the tunnel. The wall to their right exploded inward with a shower of stone and dust. Elara cried out and fell, clutching Adrian as the debris showered over them. When the dust settled, the path ahead was clear, but the path behind was gone. Lucas scrambled to his feet. "He's not letting us escape." Adrian looked down at the device in his hand, the one that had connected him to his mother's messages. The screen flickered again. A new message appeared. "I've been waiting for this moment, and now, the real game begins." Elara's heart sank. The real game? A sudden, soft whisper echoed in the tunnel, not from the device, but from the shadows themselves. "Run, or you die." Adrian glanced at his mother's message again. "Mom, what does she mean? Who is he really?" Before the answer could come, a shadow detached itself from the tunnel wall and moved toward them, fluid and terrifying. Tall. Lean. Silent. And in the dim flicker of the failing lights, the first glint of something metallic reflected in its hand. Elara's breath caught. Adrian whispered, voice shaking, "It's him, the one Mom warned us about." The shadow stopped a few steps ahead. Its presence radiated calm, deliberate power. Then it spoke. "Welcome, Kensingtons. You've uncovered the truth. Now, it's time to pay the price for knowing it." Elara froze, gripping Adrian's arm, heart hammering. The tunnel ahead seemed to stretch impossibly long, and impossibly dark. Then, a single, deliberate step echoed. And the shadow moved forward. The shadow glided closer, every step measured, deliberate. The faint flicker of red emergency lights reflected off the metallic device in its hand, sending dancing, ominous glints across the tunnel walls. Elara's breath came in short, sharp gasps. Adrian's grip on her hand was iron-strong, but she could feel his fear too. Lucas muttered under his breath, This isn't a person. It's like a predator. Calm. Calculating. And it knows us." Vivian whimpered softly, still holding her injured arm. How can one person be this?" Arthur's voice, calm and sharp, cut through the panic. "It's not just one person. Whoever this is, has been preparing for years. And now, they know every secret in this family. Every weakness." The shadow stopped just a few feet from them, leaning slightly forward. Its voice, distorted through the device, boomed into the corridor. "Elara Kensington. Adrian. Henry. Arthur, do you understand what you've unleashed?" Elara's hands trembled. What do you want from us?" The shadow let out a chilling laugh, low and deliberate. "What I want, is simple. Survival. And yet, survival comes at a cost." Adrian's jaw tightened. "A cost? What do you mean?" The figure lifted the metallic device in its hand, and the screen flashed a series of images, files, documents, videos. Each one more personal than the last, their names, their faces, their families. "You've released truths," the shadow said. "But there are consequences. Now, every secret, every weakness, belongs to me. And I will use them to reshape everything. One choice, one mistake, and everyone you love dies." Elara's chest constricted. "No, we can't let that happen. We have to stop him." Arthur's eyes narrowed. "We can't. Not alone. This isn't just a fight of strength, it's a test of strategy, courage, and trust." Adrian's hand tightened around his mother's device. Then we fight smart. We use what Mom left us, her messages, her clues, everything she prepared. She wouldn't have planned this if there weren't a way out. The shadow took another slow step forward. You may think you have a plan. You may think you have an escape. But the tunnel bends, and there are no exits that I haven't already prepared for. Lucas swallowed hard. He's watched every move we've made since we opened that safe. Vivian gasped, her voice shaking. Then how do we survive? Arthur took a deep breath. We survive by remembering one thing. He stepped forward, voice unwavering. Fear is a tool. He uses it. If we let it control us, we die. If we face it, we might just have a chance. Elara nodded, swallowing her terror. Then we face him. Adrian's eyes blazed. Together. The shadow tilted its head, almost amused. Ah, the family shows courage. But courage alone will not save you. You have one chance, one choice. A sudden metallic click echoed from the shadow's device. Red lights flared on the walls of the tunnel. The ground beneath them began to shift. Stone slabs moved as if controlled by unseen machinery. The path behind them sealed with a resounding crash. Elara gasped. We're trapped. Adrian looked up at the shadow, jaw set. Then we fight, or we die trying. The shadow raised the device high. Its distorted voice boomed once more. Let the game begin. The tunnel lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed them. And in that silence, the sound of a single, soft heartbeat echoed, not theirs. Something else. Something waiting. Darkness swallowed the tunnel, thick and suffocating, broken only by the faint, erratic glow of Adrian's device. Every step they took felt amplified, every breath a drumbeat in the cavernous silence. Elara's grip on Adrian's hand was tight enough to leave marks. Stay close, she whispered, voice trembling. Don't let go. Lucas muttered under his breath, his fear barely contained. We're walking into a trap. He knows it. He planned this. Vivian, still clutching her arm, tried to steel herself. We have to believe Mom left something, a clue, a way out. Arthur stopped suddenly, listening. The soft echo of footsteps behind them had stopped. The tunnel was silent again, but the metallic hum of the shadow's device pulsed faintly in the air. Stay alert, Arthur whispered. He's not human in his strategy. Every move we make, he's anticipating. Suddenly, the tunnel shook violently, dust and small stones raining down. A low mechanical groan reverberated through the walls. Adrian's device beeped frantically. A new message flickered across the screen. One path leads to freedom. One path leads to the abyss. Choose wisely. Elara's heart skipped a beat. An actual choice? Mom, did she leave this for us? Arthur's voice was grim. Yes. She knew we'd be forced to think, to act, to survive on our own. This is a test, but more than that, it's a warning. He's counting on fear to make us fail. Lucas glanced at the fork in the tunnel ahead. Two paths stretched into darkness, one veiled in faint blue light, the other almost entirely black. Which way? He asked, voice shaky. Adrian's jaw clenched. We don't know. But we have to act, together. Mom would have left a sign. Something only we'd recognize. Elara squinted at the walls, looking for anything, a mark, a scratch, a symbol. Her gaze fell on a series of small carvings along the stone. They were faint, almost invisible, but distinctly deliberate. "I see them," she whispered. "A sequence. 1, 2, 3. It points to the left path." Arthur nodded. "Then left it is. Quickly. And keep your eyes open." They ran down the left path, hearts hammering, adrenaline coursing through their veins. The device in Adrian's hands pulsed, casting ghostly shadows across the walls. Then, a whisper echoed through the tunnel, soft and chilling. "You think you are free, but the real test is only beginning." Ilara froze. "He's still here?" Adrian gritted his teeth. "Yes. And he's always been ahead of us." The tunnel opened into a small chamber, the air heavy and musty. A faint metallic glint caught Ilara's eye, a small, intricately carved box sitting in the center, illuminated by a shaft of pale light from above. Adrian knelt beside it, hesitant. This has to be another clue from Mom." Arthur stepped closer, expression dark. "Or a trap. Be careful." Lucas's eyes darted to the shadows. "It's too quiet. He's waiting." Adrian lifted the lid. Inside was a single item wrapped in black velvet. He pulled it out carefully. It was a small, ancient key. Ilara whispered, "A key, to what?" "The shadows in the—" Vivian's voice trembled. "We don't even know what we're walking into. What if it's worse?" Ilara swallowed, gripping Adrian's hand tighter. "Then we face it. Mom left the key for a reason. She trusted us, we can't waste that trust." Adrian nodded. "We need a plan. He's still out there. He's watching. Waiting for us to make a mistake. But maybe Mom's next clue leads us to something that can finally stop him." Arthur's eyes narrowed. The tunnels beneath the mansion aren't all explored. Hidden doors, secret chambers, passages Mom knew about. Part 3 could be anywhere. And if he's truly as clever as we think, he may have anticipated where we'd go next. Suddenly, the metallic hum returned. It wasn't loud, but it was unmistakable. The intruder's device, or perhaps another, was active. Someone, or something, was near. Adrian held up his device, scanning the walls. A faint red dot appeared on the screen, moving slowly toward them. "Not again," Lucas muttered. Ilara stepped forward, voice firm despite the fear. "We don't run blindly. We move carefully. Together. And we don't let him dictate the pace. He can't have the advantage if we act on our own terms." The red dot shifted, growing brighter. It stopped near a corner of the chamber. The shadows seemed to bend toward it. A soft, mechanical click echoed through the stone. Ilara's blood ran cold. It's here." Adrian's voice was low but determined. "Then we face it. All of us." Arthur placed a hand on Adrian's shoulder. "Remember what your mother said, fear is a weapon. Use it against him, not against yourselves." Ilara stepped forward, pulling back the faintly glowing panel in the wall. Behind it was a narrow staircase spiraling downward into darkness. "That must be it," she whispered. "Part 3, whatever it is, Mom left it here." A sudden, distorted voice echoed from the darkness above. "You think you've survived the trials? Foolish Kensingtons, the game isn't over. I'm already inside your next step." Adrian's hands shook, but he held the key tightly. Then we move. Now. One by one, they descended the staircase, the air growing colder with every step. The stone walls seemed to close in, whispering of secrets and dangers yet to come. At the bottom, the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber, filled with old documents, machines, and screens, some still flickering, showing fragments of their past battles. Adrian gasped. This is Mom's work. She set this up long before any of this started. Arthur nodded. And somewhere in here is the next part of the truth. Part 3. The part that could destroy him, or destroy us all. Elara swallowed hard. Then we find it. Together. And we don't stop until we have it. But as they spread out in the chamber, a soft, deliberate metallic click echoed again, different from before. From the shadows, a familiar silhouette stepped forward. Tall. Calm. Smiling. The intruder. And this time, he held something new, something that made Adrian freeze in disbelief. A single black envelope, sealed with a crimson wax stamp. The intruder's voice was cold, reverberating through the chamber. Congratulations, you've reached part 3. But opening this will change everything. Elara's hands shook. What is it? The intruder's smile widened. The truth your mother never dared to show you. Are you ready to see what she really left behind? The family exchanged tense glances. Every instinct screamed to run. Every heart pounded with fear. Adrian swallowed hard, holding the key and stepping forward. We have to open it. The intruder's eyes gleamed in the shadows. Then, open it. And welcome to the real game. The envelope hovered in his outstretched hand. One choice. One action. And in the silence that followed, the chamber seemed to hold its breath. Adrian stepped forward, heart hammering. He reached for the black envelope, the wax seal glinting in the dim light. Every instinct in his body screamed to hesitate, to run, but the family's fate, Mom's legacy, and their chance to finally end this nightmare rested on what lay inside. Elara's hand touched his arm. Be careful. Mom wouldn't have left it if it weren't dangerous. Adrian nodded. I know. But if we don't open it, we may never have another chance. Arthur's eyes darkened. Remember, it's not just the envelope. The intruder knows exactly what's inside, and he's prepared to use it against you. Think carefully before you act. Adrian took a deep breath and broke the wax seal. The envelope slid open, revealing a single folded document and a small USB drive, both black as midnight. Elara's hands shook. A USB, and a document? What could Mom be hiding in something so small? Adrian picked up the USB and held it tightly. Whatever it is, it must be important. Mom left it for a reason. The intruder's shadow shifted behind them, slow, deliberate, almost like a predator circling prey. Curious, aren't we? Do you really think you're ready for what she left? You have no idea what's coming. Arthur stepped in front of the family. We'll see about that. Elara unfolded the paper. The writing was Mom's, neat and precise. If you are reading this, it means you've survived what I could not. Part 3 contains the final truth, the names, the partners, the entire network. The one who thinks he controls it all, he doesn't. But he will try to destroy you before you can finish what I started. Trust each other. Only together can the end be reached. Adrian inserted the USB into the nearest terminal, and the screen flickered to life. Files appeared, hundreds of them. Videos, documents, recordings, all detailing crimes, deals, and secrets far worse than anything the family had seen before. Ilara's eyes widened. This is everything. Mom, she compiled everything. The intruder stepped forward, and his calm, cruel smile never wavered. Now that you have it, do you know what happens next? You're already trapped. This USB is only the beginning. Every move you make, I will know. Every secret, every fear. I've planned for it. Adrian's hands tightened around the drive. Then we use it. We stop him. We finish what Mom started. The intruder laughed, low and metallic. You're brave, but bravery alone won't save you. You'll need more than courage. You'll need sacrifice, and I wonder, are you ready for that? Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered violently. Screens that had been dark all around the room came alive, displaying images of their home, their friends, and even the town. Every